Birthdays are special. Birthdays are here. We have a birthday today to celebrate. Stay tuned. Guess who? Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to PWD Allies podcast. My name is Brent Frayne. I'm the host. Today, we have a birthday. We have a birthday to celebrate. And guess whose birthday that is? It is my editor-producer, Neil Matheson's birthday today.
Yay.
Happy
I'm
birthday to
wearing my
you.
birthday shirt.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Thank
And
you.
many more.
And many more.
Happy birthday, Neil.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my birthday shirt. It's a good old Snoopy shirt. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm 8 years old again. It's from my wife, so it's cool.
Oh, yay.
I
All right.
I love Snoopy, so yeah.
Yeah.
Um yeah, you know what? I just thought today would be a great day to just the talk about the successes of the podcast over the last little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We don't often get a chance to really
Yeah.
it always seems like when we talk about, um we talk sometimes at the end of the podcast, like buy us a coffee, and we just kind of throw that in at the last minute kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
we don't really talk about, you know, how people can really support the podcast, even if they don't really want to support us financially. There's so many other ways that you can support the channel just by your comments,
Mm-hmm.
leaving comments and leaving likes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that all like is a super helpful thing.
Absolutely.
Watching two episodes instead of one,
Yeah. If you want to binge watch
if
and
you just want to binge watch it, I mean, all that, like getting the hours up really helps too. Um, you know, we did was it was at the end of last year, I think, wasn't it, that we did our 22 favorite episodes. And
mm-hmm.
originally I was trying to do like maybe 15 favorites or whatever, and I
Yeah.
I could get it down to 15, so I thought, well, we'll just do 22. Well, we're at the point now. This is the 23rd episode, so
Already.
we've already had 22 in the can. So
Mm-hmm.
we did the 22 episodes, favorite episodes late last year, and we're already 22 episodes in the can this year.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to kind of highlight a few that we've done this year that I'm really proud of already.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll start again with Chad Harridge, because
Yeah.
I honestly love the guy. I
I
do.
great.
Because I mean, when we first had him on uh, last year,
Mm-hmm.
like he's such a great storyteller, just like this
Mm-hmm.
amazing storyteller. He really is.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the first show of the year for this year, for 2025. And what a great way to kick off like 2025. It was another really amazing episode. I really loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And our fourth show of this year was Cheryl Hardcastle. Always
Right.
love getting her on. We'll have to get her on again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we did on our seventh show, we did a cool one that I really liked. I don't want but anybody else, but we did one called God versus Government,
Oh,
which
yes.
which I really liked a lot. Then we had our bad hat idea,
Mm-hmm.
our bad idea hat one, where you and I role played, and it was a very kind of different episode. It was really really fun one
That
though.
was a funny one. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. So
Minister of Common Sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really did enjoy that one. That was a really fun one. And then, of course, very recently we had Tamara Taggart back on
Oh, yeah.
again, talking about
Great.
community to living BC, and what a kind of a train wreck that is. And it's always great having her on, and
It is
really
always
really
one.
happy to have her on again.
I always enjoy having all the guests that we've had on before on, and
Yeah,
especially the ones this year too. It's more of a refreshed season with new guests coming on that are kind of blending in with other guests that we've had on before. And it just spices things up this year. I'm looking forward
yeah,
to more and more guests who want to come on, and we have
yeah.
some guests already lined up already. already into next month already.
We've
Great.
got some great shows planned,
Yeah.
and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to finish off the my kind of my top 7 episodes
Hmm.
so far this year. Like I said, we have already 22 episodes in the can.
Hmm.
Um, this is the 23rd one. And anyway, so we had Sean Togood on recently, and
Hmm.
he's the actor in You're My Hero on
Yeah,
CBC Gem, and that was fun because,
that was great.
and this is where I'm going to get into is like here we had somebody reaching out to us like quite often, like it's you and me that are like we're always bugging people like please
Hmm.
come on the show, and it's like so many emails back and forth, can you please come on the show, please come on the show. And this was one where we had an agent actually reach out to us and say, can I come on your can I get this Sean Toga to come on your show? And it was
Hmm.
like the first time that somebody's actually reaching out to us and going, can I do this? And like, yes, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and so that
Yeah.
was really cool. It was like the first time that we actually had like that I actually had like a press kit. Like I
Yeah.
got sent the press kit and got to see like the whole season 2 early, and it was
Hmm.
really cool. And I just wanted to finish off with the most recent one we did, the episode 7. This last one was irritable bowel syndrome
Yeah.
with Tom Puxon. And the reason I'm including that is the fact that it was irritable bowel syndrome
Hmm.
and UBI,
Right.
universal income. And I mean, what show, what podcast, what possible podcast can you listen to where you're combining irritable bowel syndrome and UBI in the same podcast and have it make sense, you
Yeah. Yeah.
know?
They don't
And
both get flushed
you
together.
know, yeah, and they both did this, and it was a great episode.
Yeah.
And but I mean, where else can you get that? Where you're
Exactly.
talking about irritable bowel syndrome and UBI on the same show, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I felt that was quite a basically a real neat podcast on that. I really enjoyed that episode, and Tom is very passionate regarding his basic income. There's so many different models out there of strategies on how to get people above the poverty level. Give them a base floor of financial support, and then let them explore other avenues in their life. Because I mean, there's so many endless things that are out there in the community for people, but you have to give them a base floor so that they can actually work from that point on. But if you have an irritable bowel syndrome on top of that, and
Mhm.
you lose your income, your job, I mean, and you don't have that base floor. That's what Tom was going with it. Because if you don't have
Mhm.
a base floor, what happens then? Yeah, they want to go on to some kind of income supports that are supposed to be there to get people out of poverty. Well, we can
Yeah.
tell you firsthand, lived experience. I mean, not raising rates for years on end is not going to get people out of poverty, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and that's where it kind of stems back to that one episode where we talked about, that top hat, eh? I
Yeah.
mean,
The bad hat
the
idea.
bad
Yeah.
hat, right? I mean, hey, man, minister, and I won't get into that one because, but that's kind of, I want people to look back on that because it really
Mhm.
makes a lot of sense. I mean, we had a fabulous,
I was I was laughing so hard
me
because
too.
we had to pre-record that. Like
Yes.
it was something that we couldn't do live because there was so much,
Mhm.
there was so much, we had to set up scenes, and like it was basically we had to be an actor, so we
Yeah.
had to set up scenes and different things. So it had to be pre-recorded. But I was laughing through the whole thing, and
Oh, yeah, me too.
to be able to stitch it together so it made sense, and like cut out all the laughing bits, But it was just like
Yeah.
I was basically howling through the whole thing, like trying to keep a straight face and the whole thing.
Well, me
Yeah.
too. And there was episodes where I just winged it and I threw it out there and I was really holding myself back, not laughing because like things that made total sense, and in logic, like people will watch it and or in
Yeah.
else and they can compare it in reality. And then I see it all the time on social media, Neil, and to our listeners and our followers, like watching live right now. I see so many people pleading for help,
Yeah.
that that they had a top profession, like they were six-figure salary or even higher, and now they've lost everything. They're now in well below poverty level, and now they say, well, gee, I didn't know what it was like. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
we talk about lived experience all the time, and stories of people becoming disabled, and I mean, any little accident, things can happen. You could fall out of bed. The person could fall out of bed. They could, I mean, anything can happen. And it can change your whole life just like that. And I mean, when I say that governments, they have a choice, and then really it does come down to choices. They can spin it off and say, well, oh, it's the tariffs, it's tariffs. Well, the underlying issue, yes, the tariffs. I mean, is very important. That yes, we all need to be kind of looking at that and how it affects our lives for sure. But the
Yeah.
underlying issue is, what were the problems before that happened, right? And when government's saying, well, we raised, I mean, we're talking about BC here because we're in BC, but other provinces can relate to it too, I'm sure. And I know for a fact they can. But when you get a government, just for instance, and well, we raised rates 5 times. Well, technically 2 times within the budget.
Yeah.
2 times, like really? Like, yeah, because all they did was use a COVID supplement to basically, bite it down and then use a bus pass as a wager, right?
It's a shell. It's a shell game.
Yeah.
But
And,
again, the one of the big reasons why I love that the bad idea hat one so
oh, I know.
much is
Yeah.
that it really highlighted
Yeah.
how freaking ridiculous all of these policies really are. Like, because
Exactly.
you and I role played, and it
Yeah.
got to a point in the role play where you were trying to, like, there was one part where you were trying to act like David Eby,
Mhm.
and I asked you like why does why is basically killing kids on free fentanyl a good idea, or something like that. It was not quite phrased that way,
Yeah.
but then you couldn't come up with an answer. You were like, you were basically like, and
Mhm.
that, I mean, that just kind of like
Yeah.
just highlighted how stupid and ridiculous these things are, where we're basically allowing free drugs, access to these free drugs to like 15 year olds and younger, even, like,
Even
actually,
younger. Yeah. Mhm.
just like it was yesterday or the day before. I don't know if you read, but it was here in BC. There was a 5 year old girl. Did you hear
I,
about
I,
that?
I was listening
5 year old
to
girl,
the news. Yeah. On the
5 year
radio.
old girl somehow got her hands on fentanyl, and
Mhm.
somehow she
Overdose.
survived. I don't know how,
Mhm.
but she was on the crash cart. She was gonna, like, she was inches away from dying. Inches away. This is a 5 year old girl,
My
inches away
God.
from dying. They got her on the crash cart and she survived, but somehow she got access to this fentanyl and it almost killed her.
Mhm.
And this is the world we live in now, because you have um stupidity basically in government saying, just give all these safe supply drugs. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know, like, maybe I'm the wrong person to talk about it. Like, we have Dan in chat. I mean, he's way more knowledgeable than, I mean, I'm just super
Mhm.
opinionated,
Mhm.
and maybe that's wrong.
But I'm glad.
But
I,
I just don't like the idea of just everybody having these free access to drugs, where 5 year old kids can overdose and almost die.
It's really tragic, and I
It's just
heard on the
stupid.
radio this morning, on the talk show on CKNW in Vancouver. Well, actually throughout BC now, they've actually changed their radio channel on it. It's 7:30 on your dial. So now, yeah, you can actually tune in anywhere in BC. It actually is a better radio signal apparently, rather
Yeah.
than 980. So yeah, it's great listening to it, like listening to their show. And I tune in all the time. I try to call in. I called in yesterday. Yeah, and I got on about transportation, and yeah, we were talking about gridlock, and yeah, it was interesting. But today's show, I didn't get a chance to call in. They didn't weren't taking calls. Their guest that they had on the show was talking about a 5 year old who had overdosed, and you know
Mhm.
who the guest that they had on their show this morning was? Eleanor Storko.
Oh, see,
And
I'm trying to get her on, so
yeah,
I have to reach out again. But
yeah.
here's a case where I'm really going after these our provincial politicians.
Hmm.
I'm still like I'm really going to go after all these people this year,
Hmm.
and but I almost want them now to start to reach out to us, like
Absolutely. No,
like
better.
I will keep sending out emails, but I want to get to the point where people are actually reaching out to us and
Yeah,
saying
they're saying, want to
I
come.
would love to come on your show
Yeah.
because I've reached out to Eleanor Sturko now a couple of times,
Hmm.
and I've reached out to Pierre Polyev, and I've reached out to I've reached out to the leader of the BC Conservatives here as well.
How about
Um,
there's Mark Carney, who's the temporary prime minister. He may get elected in again, or I don't know. Who knows what's going to
yeah.
be a federal election? Or there's Jagmeet Singh. There's the
Yeah, I mean,
block.
I'll have Jagmeet sing on like all these. I'm sure there's a few people out there saying, "Well, why aren't you having so and so on? And why aren't you having so and so on?" Well,
But
trust me,
we're,
like
we're trying. We're trying to get
you
them on.
and Brent, try all the time getting people on,
Hmm.
and
I
so
always say,
again, like I'll keep trying, but I almost want to get to the point now where they want to come on the
there's no reason why
podcast
you
and
want to
talk
come.
about
Yeah,
yeah.
you would think that the leaders of the country who want to be leaders of the country wouldn't want to come on and like have a platform that it doesn't cost them to come to and having a
Yeah.
debate. I mean, I know that there's a French debate or something in Quebec, and they have to pay $75,000 each one of them to have a
Yeah.
French debate. And no, the other one says no, I'm not paying $75,000 to have a French debate. Mark Carney or something. I don't know. I'm not doing any favoritism of saying, well, should he have paid or not? But anyway, it's free. It's free for you to come on to. I mean,
Yeah.
we just want to hear your take. Where do you see things economically? Like, what are you going to do for persons with disabilities on the provincial level? Now I know that it's a jurisdictional stuff within the country, but provincially, those on income assistance benefits on each province. Now, of course, we know where the CDB is going, and I'm not even going to go there on that because that thing was completely boggled up. And it didn't need to be. Most people are not going to qualify for it. There's just too much red tape involved. Didn't need to have all the red tape. Give me the big scissors, leaders. I'll cut the red tape. I'll do you a favor, and it will be a ribbon cutting it and celebrating
Yeah.
that I've cut the red tape. And hey, I'll say, wow, that was hard now. So I basically what I want is to have your view. What
Hmm.
are you going to do economically to help people on provincial level get rid of the barriers that were created with that CDB? Better yet, how about a basic income? Call it a day. Yeah,
Well,
this is call it a day. Yeah,
you know what, Brent? I just want to go back to
yeah.
the BC Conservatives
Oh
as
yeah,
an example. Like John Rustad, he almost won the election
I know.
I mean, it was just
Yeah,
razor thin. And I mean, he did an
22
amazing
votes.
job. He did an amazing job to almost when we have to say to resurrect that party.
Mhm.
But you know, one of the big questions I had, and it hasn't gone away. It hasn't gone away. Is the BC Conservatives when they did their election platform, they released everything in piecemeal
Yeah.
on purpose. They released everything in piecemeal instead of in like
Mhm.
little bits and pieces here and there. They kind of drip fed the whole thing through the
Yeah, I know
election,
that. Yeah.
and you never kind of saw the whole platform in its entirety.
Hmm.
It was never released in its entirety.
Yeah.
Even after the election, it was never given like
Yeah.
this is our platform, and it
Mm.
was just that to me was kind of the biggest misstep
Oh yeah.
is that they never released their whole platform, and you're like, well,
Well,
what do you guys stand for?
because it was hard to follow. Like, what
It
are
was so hard to follow. Like I was
the-
trying to find out like what's in your disability platform? Like what are you going to do for people with disabilities? And I couldn't see anything.
there was nothing in their
Th-
platform from when
yeah.
I was combing through like some of the information, and in comparison, and nothing against any of the political parties. Like I try to stay as nonpartisan as possible. I mean, I have my viewpoints and my opinions. I mean, we all do, and I just want to see all the parties work together and create the nonpartisan BS, right? And actually
Yeah.
get people up to a livable income. But when I looked at in the province of BC, when I looked at the platforms before the election, like as you mentioned, Neil, like there was nothing in the Conservative. Like couldn't find
Yeah.
their information. Then I looked at the BC NDP. There was nothing in there for PWD at all,
Except
except
for
the
the Canada
PWD.
disability, except for
Yeah,
the
except for
Can.
the
Yeah.
Canada Disability Benefit that,
Yeah.
as we know, nobody's going to qualify barely for it
Yeah.
anyway. But it's
Yeah.
kind of like pat yourself on the shoulder. Look what we
Yeah.
did. It's like saying we raised rates 5 times in 1 year. I mean, or not 1 year, since 2017. It's all rhetoric, right? But then I looked at the
But
Green Party, and
yeah.
they had to set $2,400. But then all of a sudden, when they agreed with a not an official supply and agreement, but it's the agreement that they're going to vote with the
Mhm.
NDP on different bills. Then all of a sudden the language changed. Though all
It
of a
just
sudden,
dropped off,
yeah,
right?
it
It's
says
like
about
20.
economic uncertainty about raising
Yeah.
rates. When I heard that
Yeah.
word economic uncertainty, I thought, okay, they're not going to
Yeah.
raise rates again.
They're just doing copy and paste
Yeah,
of BCNDP now.
yeah. It's like they got.
But again, like I I think all the politicians that have come on our show,
Mhm.
and we've had a lot. I think they can come on the show and feel safe because they
Oh
know
yeah,
we're not going to attack them, right?
no.
For me, again, going back to the conservatives, like I want somebody from the conservatives to come on our podcast or your podcast
Mhm.
so bad because
And me too.
I just want somebody to say this is what we stand for people
Yeah,
with disabilities
yeah. I want to hear their viewpoint. Yeah.
because there was nothing during the election, the lead up to the election, there was nothing. Like I couldn't find anything really in their platform
Hmm.
about anything, and I wanted so bad for somebody like John Rustad to talk about that, like have him come on the podcast to talk about it,
Absolutely.
one of his MLAs come on and talk about. And I know we were going to have Tara Armstrong on the podcast. She was excited to come on. She was the shadow minister, but now she got kicked out of caucus, so now she's no longer.
She's running as an independent.
She's running it as independent now. So
Unless she, the invitation, is still out there for you, Tara Armstrong. If you want to come on
if
as independent,
if she still wants to come on,
yeah,
great.
yeah,
But again, my whole thing was that I really just want to encourage any conversation, and I know you're the same thing.
hmm
It's like let's have a conversation
hmm
and talk about it. It's not about like trying to pick sides,
yeah,
conservatives are the best or
exactly.
NDP are the best. Like I just want to have a conversation and hash things out.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you
same as
know,
me. Like I want to see where the MLA or MP or MPP or leader of the official opposition is, or the prime minister is. Like where do you see things at economically going forward? What are you going to do for people on like low income, or as some of the critics or some of the politicians will call it, the most vulnerable? I mean, I just say PWD, seniors, PWD, low
mhm.
income. I don't know. I mean, I that's what I say, but they always say the most vulnerable. It just drives me because I don't know. Maybe it's just something in the industry that they call it. It's like the word shelter. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
shelter. But I think it's
we're
just
dogs. We're all
yeah.
dogs.
But I think
Yeah.
it's just something that just the industry they just run with in general, and so I
Mhm.
don't take it personally. What I do look at is they can say anything they want to get elected, right? It's what they are going to do when they become elected. Are they still going to run with that same narrative of the mindset of saying, well, yeah, I want to get people out of legislative poverty. Okay,
Mhm.
so what are your, and what are you going to do when you become elected? Are you still going to stick with that same line? What
Right.
are the steps that you're going to take, and then the end goal to reach that goal? You need the steps to get to that goal. What are you going to do to make that happen? So
Mhm.
when I say, well, and as Jeff Leggett for Disability Action of Canada would say, you need to have steps to get to that goal, right? So the end
Mhm.
goal is to get it up to no less than poverty level financial support for 1.5 million disabled Canadians. You need to have those steps to get up to that level, and then you tie it to inflation at COLA. COLA, COLA, number sign COLA, cost of living adjustment, and definitely and increase those rates so it doesn't just get tied just to that inflation level. Because if inflation drops down to a certain level, it's going to help. It'll help tying it to, say, a basic income level versus if it's just PWD rates, now the buying power erodes down even faster. So we need to get it up to a certain level so that it doesn't keep dropping down. Because I can tell you, folks, as you all know, you go to the grocery store, what you used to be able to buy for, say, $100, you're looking at maybe $40 now. You could probably get maybe $30 or $40 worth of stuff, depending on what you're buying, but it's hard. And then not having rates increased in years, where do you cut back? And I guess that'll be another part of our segment today, is ask us any questions that you want. It's like, where do if you're a PWD and you're watching this and say, well, yeah, I'm having to cut back. And I look at needs versus wants. My mom taught me but she was only a little girl, and she learned a lot from her mother at the time, because her mother had gone through the Deep Depression, right? And
Mhm.
so my mom learned a lot pretty quick of, she just because she wanted something, she knew she couldn't have it. Like, she'll
Yeah.
say, well, that's nice to have. And her mother said, well, yeah, well, unfortunately, we can't have that. Like, that's just not happening, right? So I look forward and I say things are going to get messy. And well, hopefully they don't get as messy as I think with this tariff garbage, right? There's no need for tariffs at all. It's just a tax, and there's no
You
need for it, right?
when you said ask us anything, like
Yeah,
we did a show earlier in the year. It was Ask Brent Anything, so it was ABA,
yeah.
and this show is going to be like Ask Brent and Neil Anything. So what does Ask Brent and Neil, if you shorten it down, it's you can shorten down to Abana. So it's like
Abana,
Abana Unana. My
Abana.
life is in Abana Unana.
There we are. Abana.
Abana Unana.
Yeah, so that's it. That's exactly it today. Ask us anything. And
Yeah.
but I look back at the economy. Like, when I say taxes, I mean everyone can echo that, I'm sure. Like, we don't need taxes, we don't need tariffs. The agreement was signed. I'm not throwing mudslings at the president in the U.S. I mean, I know that there's a lot of that rhetoric going on. I just want to see society, businesses thrive. I want to see people's lives thrive. I want to see people have a standard income where they can put the money back into the economy that they live in. I mean, really, it's not hard. I mean, I know that a lot of them will say shop local. Well, I got a local store close by. It's not cheap. I mean, I love to shop local, but how do you shop local? I said to the one of the managers, I'd love to keep shopping here. Well, but you come in the odd time, buy stuff here and there. I go, yeah, only the odd item that I need, but I couldn't do all my shopping here. Why not? Because the government, they never raised our rates for years on end. Oh, well,
Yeah.
you know what? You know what the response back, government? You know what the response was? This is coming from a manager from a local store. Shame on you.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Like, I was like, whoa. Yeah. And they told me that. Now, it's not just from one store. That was from 7 stores that I've heard
Yeah.
from. Okay.
Yeah.
So the word gets around in a ripple effect throughout BC. And I keep hearing from people who come here visiting their relatives from other areas of BC to the capital city where I am. And the word gets around saying, why didn't the government do it? And you know what the call is? And I see it really amplifying very soon, actually. The call is to amend the BC budget and actually do the right thing and
Yeah.
actually raise the rates, because people are saying that the politicians all got raised, like 47 of the MLAs, plus all the staffers. And then the government says we're broke. Well, yeah, I guess if you're going to be giving $60,000 to each of the MLAs, plus all your other staffers, and then hire and fire and hire and fire within the same office, That's
Yeah.
going to be costly. And then we got a problem with TransLink. Apparently, there's $600 million shortfall for 2026, and saying, well, they're going to
We
cut back.
don't know what happened to him with all the money.
Well, where did all the money go?
It
Well,
just disappeared.
all the CEOs at the top. That's where the
Yeah.
money is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've got a solution, but I'm going to talk on another show on
No,
that one.
yeah,
But hmm,
it bugs me when government says there's no money to
yeah,
give a raise
yeah,
because it sounds like we're belly aching, but on one hand, but that's at the same time, everybody knows that it costs money to like poverty itself
oh my gosh, yeah,
costs a lot of money. It costs way more money,
hmm,
like 8 times more money than if you just gave, or
hmm,
maybe not 8 times, but like
or
three
more.
times more money or
It could
something.
be, yeah, it's a lot. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot. It's at least 3 times more money to keep people in poverty than
mhm.
it is just to raise the rates.
It's not
So,
difficult.
so government is deliberately flushing 3 times more money down the toilet.
Hmm.
We and again, we talked about IBS the last episode, but
Hmm.
they're literally flushing money down the toilet to deliberately keep people in poverty, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, especially when.
Rather than doing the right thing, they're actually costing taxpayers more money
Mhm. Well,
by
especially
keeping things status quo.
it's like if I were to go to Google, right, and I asked Google, I did it the other day, like, why won't the government raise PWD rates? Right away, it comes to the whole line. The government of British Columbia raised the rates 5 times. Okay, well, like, yeah, that's just a generic question. It's right away. It's like saying, well, we raised rates 5 times since 2017. Well, really, did you? Like, and of course, we just talked about that. Again, what little bits here and there, skip a bunch of years, and look what we did.
Mm.
That doesn't actually get people out of poverty. Dignified living, right? Give the person a dignified amount to live on. I know the old saying is, well, if they raise the rates, corporate landlords are going to take advantage of the increase. Well, you know what? If you want a roof over your head, you're going to have to pay that corporate landlord that amount. If you don't,
Mm.
guess what? I mean, I rent from a corporate landlord, and I've had lots of discussions regarding that topic. And they're saying, well, they just have to just put the money to just your rates in general. Like your check is your check, and just because it's divided down into shelter versus support, they say get rid of the word shelter
Mm.
because you pay your corporate landlord us. I said, yeah, so you pay it, and if you don't pay it, guess what? You're going to be on the street, right? And I go, exactly. Then you don't get your shelter portion, which is $500 now per month.
Wow.
It went up in
So
2023.
much.
Yeah, it went up in 2023, but you had to prove that your rent went up in
Yeah.
under corporate landlords if your rent went up. Went in subsidized housing, they never got a rate increase in 2023. So that shows that, I mean, where can you rent for 500?
I challenge everybody here that's either listening to the podcast now or will listen to the podcast later.
Hmm.
Write your local MLA and ask them, where can I rent? Where can I rent for $500 a month? Please, can you tell me where I can rent for $500 a month?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know.
Historically, yeah, that's a great question because historically, it went up to $500.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the other sad part is that if people in say and outside of the subsidized housing industry, I call it the sector, if you're renting from a place, a basement suite somewhere, and maybe you're corporate or maybe it was a corporate manager, but most of them actually do give you a rate increase. But if you were lucky enough that your rent did not go up, all right, and say you're paying 375, imagine that,
Mhm.
and your landlord said, you know what, I'm going to give you a break. I'm not going to give you a rate increase. You're still stuck at that 375.
Mhm.
You never got that 125 increase. So again, some people got it, some people didn't, other ones got nothing.
Yeah.
But the government says, but we raised the rates,
And then if you couch surf, you get nothing, you get
and you get
zero.
nothing. Yeah, you get
Yeah.
$0 because you
Yeah.
have to prove that you have a physical address, but
Yeah.
it's not your permanent address. So the government says, nope, nothing for you, $0
So
for you.
that's a sure way to get people out of poverty, right?
Oh
To
yeah,
punish them, like if you're
yeah,
coach surf, it's like you deserve more punishment,
yeah. But here's
you
the thing,
know?
though, Neil, is that the government will say, no, we're not going to give you that shelter. But where you're staying, they may say, okay, so if you could maybe throw us a couple $100 or $300,
Hmm.
to be here. But we can't sign, we can't sign for you to say that this is your permanent address. So you're
Hmm.
now taking it out of your base amount. So now you're still losing that $500 off of
Right.
1483.50. So now you're getting 983.50. So now
Hmm.
that person that you're maybe couch surfing from says, hey, throw me, two, 300, say $300.
Hmm.
Now you've only got $683 left.
Hmm.
And now if you want to go and try and find a place to rent from, they say, oh, can you show me your income? So you do a printout. What? Is that all you get?
Yeah.
Are they going to want to rent to you? Well, no, they'll give me more if I basically prove that you're going to rent to me. They're going to give me $500 more, plus they're going to top up this.
Hmm.
Okay, and that's what you're going to live on? That's all they give me. Then that's when all the questions start coming down too. Now the corporate landlord says, well, how are you going to get by when the rent is actually more than that? Can you rent to me for 1483.50? No, you cannot find a place for that full check
Yeah.
amount.
Yeah. You can't.
I guess, Neil, I guess that to our listeners and viewers, the myth out there is the government actually takes care of the most vulnerable. They provide. One of my neighbors thought that the shelter portion was above the base amount, like enough for
Hmm.
the actual rent. And they said, well, the average rent, guy goes in my building where I live. He says they want $1,780. So they give you 1780 on top of your 1483.50. I go, hell no. I go, well, no, no. That's
There was another article I just read, was on Twitter. I didn't have a chance to read the whole thing, so I don't really want to. I almost don't want to say it because I might be taking things out of context a little bit.
hmm,
But basically, the gist of what I saw was there was this elderly woman who was I guess like on what's that the Safers program or some
yeah,
sort of subsidized
yeah.
rent thing.
The seniors
Well,
apartment.
yeah, so she was in a subsidized housing arrangement thing, and apparently she she basically hacked up a house into 8 different bedrooms,
Mm-hmm.
and she was charging 8 people basically 8 rents for these 8 bedrooms that she hacked up,
Ooh.
and and so she was collecting all of this income
Oh,
like as personal income.
ooh.
Well, the government is supporting her on this kind of the income support, like this the Safers program.
Oh, pure.
That is what I just saw that on Twitter. And again, I don't want to be
Ooh.
taken too much out of context, but that was basically roughly what I saw. Was
Mm-hmm.
there's this one woman who basically hacked up a house into all these different rooms, and
Mm-hmm.
she's charging 8 people, like, I don't know, maybe like $500 a room or something. So whatever, like $4,000 or something.
Wow. Uh,
Well, she's qualifying for subsidy herself,
yeah,
right?
but yeah, which is
Yeah,
30% of her income. For Safers, familiar with that because my mom
yeah.
had gone through that program. But here's the catch that you can't. It's based on household income. That Safers, how it's designed, and it's so archaic. It needs to be changed. And I argued with the government decades ago regarding that because it came down to the point where myself and my brother my mom had to make a choice of saying, well, one of you has to move because the income's too high for the household, and she was going to be cut off, and then she was going to have to pay, the market rent, what they wanted, like the higher amount, and that's how the program was set.
Mhm.
So my mom had me staying because my brother was able to be independent. He was able to be self sufficient. I mean, he had his own business, so his income was much higher than mine.
Mhm.
And I remember way back then my brother goes, well, why is your income so low? I mean, yeah, it's lower than what mom's is. My mom goes, well, because mine's a senior's pension and it's divided up into segments of different things. Yeah, but his is even lower. Why? I thought the government's supposed to take care of him. He goes, oh man, he said, you got the short end of the deal. I mean, yeah, like that was, and so I went to the government at the time, and my mom says I got the short end of the deal. My brother says I got the short end of the deal. Oh, don't worry, don't worry. The government's gonna make sure that people are taken care of. Don't worry, don't worry.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, really?
How's that working out for you, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We have Peter Cunnington in chat,
Hi, Peter.
and he says in Vancouver, he's got a case where they pulled a shower curtain across a room and charged $1,000 for half a room with a shower curtain in the middle.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy? A
Yeah,
thousand dollars for half a room with a shower curtain in the middle.
I was,
Wow.
gosh, I was reading on, speaking of social media, I was reading um, basically just recently, same kind of a situation where 8 rooms were divided.
Hmm.
And there was I guess a person was majorly self-dividing their whole place up to for immigrants to live inside their place. And there was, and on top of that, those 8 rooms, there was a lot of beds that were set up in each room
Hmm.
that were lined up. And it's just, it's so sad. Like it doesn't have to be that way.
Hmm.
Um, Peter's still in the chat. What time, Peter, on the 31st?
Yeah, we need to know. We would love to have you on, Peter, but we need to know what time you're coming
AM,
on
PM, yeah, it doesn't matter.
AM, PM. It doesn't really matter to us. It's
Well, before 2 p.m. though, before 2 p.m.
before 2 p.m., but and also anytime after say 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Our time Pacific.
So between
So
9 and 2.
anytime between 9 and 2, you have to give us a time, and then we'll slot you in.
Yeah.
But we
Looking
need
forward
to
to
know
having
that
you on though.
we need to know the time, Peter. Yeah, and I don't know how long you want to stay on, Brent, but we've chatted for about 45 minutes, and I kind of wanted to bring it back,
Maybe for a
maybe
little bit more.
maybe at the end here to talk again, because we don't really, again, we don't really spend a lot of time on the podcast itself,
Yeah,
like
like
the time and energy it takes to put this podcast together. And I just wanted to run through. I've done this before, and I think once before, maybe, so that's how little we talk about it, honestly. But
hmm
I just wanted to go through some numbers again, just for our listeners.
hmm
Like in 2022, that's when you came to me with the idea. It was January of 2022. You came to me with the idea of I want to do I want to do some sort of podcast thing, but it was originally through Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, I want to do some kind of chat thing where I'm bringing people
Yeah,
together and talk about their lived experience of
yeah,
stories, and that's where the stories came in. And then we were trying to think at the time once we just kind of winged it out onto Twitter Space and come to with an idea of a just a general idea of what would the show be called, like what
yeah,
would and bringing people's experiences together and like a common theme and man, gosh, the show's developed from that point on. It blossomed. I knew when I approached you, Neil, and that I
yeah,
thought, no, this is a hot tamale. Like this is going to be something big, because I knew at the time that a lot of people were talking giving 2020 onward, right?
hmm,
And that's when I thought, okay, like this CDB thing, and but people talk about. I was reading about basic income. Like people, they just want to have something guaranteed. They want something that's going to help their well-being. They're better their life in so many ways. They could support their community. And I thought to myself, okay, like all these different thoughts. They could support their community. They could go places. They could buy things that they needed in their daily lives. They could, I mean, just so endless possibilities. And I thought,
hmm,
okay, so I approached you. I thought I came with this idea, and I thought, and you're like, yeah, okay. And so we threw it out there on Twitter Space, and
yeah,
ever since, I mean, it's been growing, and
And it was good on Twitter Spaces.
it was a good,
It was good for a while,
but the audio
but the
quality
thing that
sucked.
always killed me was the audio sucked, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And this is what I wanted to get to is basically from the first show. I think I missed the first show only, but
Hmm.
basically from the first show onward,
Yeah.
I was basically trimming about 15-minute segments from your 4 hour shows that you had on Twitter. So he says I
Yeah.
trimmed the best, say, 15 minutes, and I put them up on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And you know, basically nobody watched them. Like for the amount
Yeah.
of time
Oh, I know.
and effort that I
I,
basically put in like probably 4 hours for every 15-minute segment I put together.
yeah.
It sounds ridiculous now to think about it, but I probably put in a good 4 hours at least
Oh,
to
I know.
even put together like a 15-minute segment.
1 minute, 15-minute segment. Yeah, like one
Yeah,
show.
4 hours it took me to put together, and nobody watched. And I'll prove it to you. Like I've gone back and I looked at the so I have like your original spaces on Twitter.
Hmm.
I have a playlist there. It's under your it's
Yeah.
under I have a if you go to my if you go to the YouTube channel,
Hmm.
I've got a row of videos that kind of belong to me and Jake. I call them Jake and Daddy videos. There's a row of like 4 playlists, and then I've got a row of like 4 or 5 playlists for you and Sonia. I call it Brent and Sonia videos. So I've got
Yeah.
a collection of my videos, 4 or 5 playlists, and I've got a collection of your playlists. And one of your playlists for under your name is the old Twitter Space videos. They're still there, but
Yeah.
they're all under playlist, and there's like 100 of them. There's over 100 of those
Ooh,
videos.
ooh.
So think about that. There's 100 videos times 4 hours each to put them together. That's like 400 hours worth of time
Ooh.
almost probably, right?
Imagine 400 hours.
But I wanted
That's minimum.
I just wanted to say that in 2022, again, nobody cared about the YouTube channel because I was doing it. I was throwing it up there, but nobody cared about it. They only cared about the Twitter Spaces, and they're like,
Hmm.
who cares about the YouTube channel? They could care less.
Yeah.
And so the first year in 2022, I went from zero to because I had no subscribers up until then. I wasn't using my YouTube channel for anything.
Hmm.
It just
Yeah.
sat dormant for years and years and years. So I went from 0 subscribers to 133 by the end of 2022. That was our first year.
Yeah.
And the watch hours per day
Yeah.
with 133 subscribers was around a little bit over 1 hour per day.
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
that goes to prove that I mean, that 1 hour is
Yeah. Yeah.
probably me watching back some of my own stuff to kind of proofread it, right?
Yeah.
So
One day. Oh my
that
God.
was probably the 1 hour per day. It was probably me,
Wow.
you
Yeah.
know. So that goes to prove that nobody was watching. Then we get to 2023, and that is where we made the switch
Yep.
from the Twitter Spaces to YouTube. We did the deliberate switch over to YouTube,
Hmm.
and we completely changed course and kind of repackaged it, and it became its own thing. So it went from Canadians with Disabilities and their allies on Twitter Spaces
Hmm.
to PWD Allies
Yep.
on YouTube. And so in 2023, we went from 1 hour per day to it was 1,700 watch hours for the year.
Ooh.
And that's not bad. That works out to 140 hours per month.
Hmm.
Um, so we we went from 1 hour per day
Yep.
to about 140 hours per month, and we went up to 34,000 views,
Ooh.
and
Wow.
we got 225 subs that year. So
Oh,
the subscriptions went up, our subscribers went up, and then in 2024, we got to 3,300 watch hours. So that's when we
we reached out
right at the end we got to the first level of monetization
monetization, yeah, yeah.
because you have to get to at least 3,000 hours to get the first level of monetization. So we
Hmm.
got to 3,300 hours by the end of 2024, and
Hmm.
that works out to about 20 or sorry, 275 hours per month, and we achieved 54,000 views,
Mm.
and for that one year we had an additional 1.5 1.5 or basically 1,500 subscribers in just in last year. And then for this year, we're only 3 months into this year, and we're already seeing an uptick in the hours. We're already achieving 300 watch hours per month,
Ooh,
uh, which is pretty good, right? And we're up to
keep watching,
20.
everyone.
So again, this is in 3 months only. In 3 months
Mhm.
only, we've got to 21,000 views in 3 months. So we're on pace to get to maybe 100,000 views
Oh,
in one year. So that'll like double our output for last year.
mm-hmm.
And just in this year alone, we've got an additional 1 point or actually 1,900 subscribers additional just in this year alone. So it really is ballooning up
Very, very,
quite a bit.
very, very interesting.
Because I mean, I remember like there was a few times when you were back on Twitter Spaces where
Mhm.
uh, you had a couple of times where the room blew up and you got like maybe 100
Oh
people
my.
watching at one time. Well,
Oh
well,
yeah.
well, now we're getting you know 150 eyeballs per day, every day or more. Like 150 eyeballs a day is kind of the average for us
Hmm.
now. And I mean, back in the day when you were on Twitter Spaces,
Yeah.
100 people coming into the room was great, but now we're getting that every day.
Especially when they all try to talk at once.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it
Wow.
really, so
Wow.
again, it kind of just shows you the growth of where the
Well,
channel
the
came from and
popularity
where it's going. So,
the
you know,
popularity is there, and because it affects people's lives on a day-to-day basis. Anybody, I mean, allies, I mean, it affects their lives. I mean, they can become disabled, and they will become disabled. They're diagnosed, right? I mean, nobody wants a disability. A disability can impair people in so many different ways. Either you're going to be disabled through your insurance, and maybe an insurance company is going to take care of your disability needs. If not, provincial disability will kick in. And then of course we talk about the difference of, there's insurance once insurance policies. You can become permanently disabled through, and no fault of your own, or you're just developing more disabilities in life. But if it's a workplace injury and you become disabled, yeah, like you're going to go through an insurance company that's, if you're fortunate enough that you're going to be taken care of that way. Is the amount going to be adequate to cover your losses of your income? Maybe not, and most likely not. You might get a settlement, but if you're fortunate enough to have that, but if you're not fortunate enough to go through that, you're going to end up on provincial disability. As we know, those rates are well below poverty level. So
mhm.
why, like, and I guess the question I have for people out there, why should people be treated like less as a citizen because they have a disability? No fault of their own. They're just who they are. I mean, we're
Yeah.
citizens of Canada. Should we not be taking care of our brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers? And I mean, when you hear from people in the community, and I don't live too far from a hospital, and when I see nurses and doctors getting off shift and they're walking along, and I pass by, I go, oh, and some of them get to know who I am. Hi, Brent.
Mhm.
I go, hi. And some don't want to talk, and I get that because they've had a rough day. They just want to tune people out because they're dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, right? Or they got their
Mhm.
headsets on. Okay, that one's got the headset on. And one lady said hi to me. Why? Because she actually subscribes to the podcast.
Yeah,
A
that's
nurse,
cool.
a nurse,
Yeah,
and a doctor does too. And
yeah,
I don't know who they are. I've never seen them before. Two of them subscribe, and I'm sure there's probably other ones at the
yeah,
hospital do too. And when one day, I guess I don't know. I guess I was just in a mode where I was trying to blank my mind because releasing stress and anxiety, fighting with the government. And I said to this nurse went by and a doctor was walking with her. I guess they were going the same direction. And they're like, what's wrong? And I said, well, it's just I'm just pissed off at the government for deliberately not raising rates. They're like, shame. And again, when I said earlier on the podcast on this episode, again, the word shame came toward the current government. And, they told me it's all policy, Brent. It's all policy.
yeah,
The government can change things. So again, please, the government, please listen to lived experience stories. Minister, like the one that's in charge of the poverty reduction. I know that when you hear, well, people are telling you that the best thing that they are hearing is a job.
yeah,
Well, coming from practitioners and lived experience, a lot of people are saying, no, they just raise our income so that
yeah,
we can have enough money where we can put the money back into the economy. And really, what it comes down to is having enough money put back in the economy where they feel that they are treated equally, equality within society.
yeah,
So, a job is great, right? Well, I think we've all, in time, we've done jobs. I mean, hell, people who used to be able to help people out had jobs. They become unemployed and now they're disabled. And they say, well, yeah, I used to have a good job, but now I don't have a job. I'm on disability
yeah,
support and now living below poverty level. And then the government says, well, the best thing I hear is give them a job. Well, you
yeah.
tell somebody who had worked for 40 years in their life, well, the best thing they do is get them a job. Well, and a lot of premiers are saying that same narrative, right? I mean, not
Yeah.
just BC, but Ontario. Just get them a job. Well,
Yeah, and that's the thing it's
it,
so infuriating to
it
me, and
is.
and again, I
It
feel like a
bugs me.
broken
Well,
record because it's like, again, I've worked for 20 years. Lots of people have worked for 20, 30, 40 years.
oh yeah, me too.
My first wife worked for 20 years. And so for the government to say, get a job, well, I got a job and my previous wife got a job.
Yeah,
And what do you do to honor that? You
yeah,
claw back income
yeah,
on purpose deliberately,
yeah,
so you're not actually honoring the fact that people are working.
yeah.
Like I put in a good, and I mean we said this before too. Is like, and this is not a joke. I don't say this as I'm being absolutely serious. It's
Yeah.
not a joke. I've said before that when you have a disability, it's like dog years, right? Like
Oh,
we we we
absolutely.
we, we know about dog years of like
One,
one
one
was
year
it
equals 7 years.
yeah, one dog year is 7 years human years, right? It's the
Yeah.
same thing for people with disabilities that work.
Mhm.
Basically every year that I worked, it was basically 7 years of toil on my body, physical toil on my body. So 1 year of work for a disabled person is actually equivalent to about 7 years. It
Yeah.
sounds stupid. I know it sounds stupid for people that don't know, that don't have that lived experience. But I'm telling you the truth. That 20 years of actual
I can
work
relate.
experience working for me was 7 years of toil. Every year that I worked was 7 years of toil and strain on my body.
Hmm.
So it's like basically, again, it sounds stupid, but it's basically the equivalent of working 140 years, really, right? And I realize it sounds stupid. You're thinking, well, you're exaggerating, but it's not really an exaggeration. It's not. And
Hmm.
I wish government would wake up to the fact that if I work for 20 years and you work for 20 years, because whatever it is, I know you worked for a lot.
Long time.
I mean, 20 years for a person with a disability to work that much, that's a shitload of work.
Hmm.
And to just say, well, that doesn't count. Work another 20 years, Neil. Work another 20 years, Brett, because that doesn't count. Work again. Work again.
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
even though that 20 hours, or sorry, 20 years actually is about 140 years worth of actual toil in your body.
Hmm.
Even so, work another 20 years, so you have a 280 years worth of toil on your body, because that first 20 years that you worked isn't enough.
Hmm.
You have to get another job, Neil, because we're going to disrespect you and claw back your pensions
Yeah.
because we love doing that. We love disrespecting pensions because it's awesome, you
Well,
know?
yeah, and and the other excuse that they would give is, oh well, we're just not going to raise the rate. So you want more money, you need to go out there and get a job, work your work your butt, make yourself more sick, and put more strain on your system. I mean, really, is that what society is all about? Is that's all their worth is? If you don't work, then you're not part of society. I mean, Tom, the basic income guy, Tom Buxton, he talks about that all the time. I mean, he talked about that about the IBS, what he's going through.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's a good example. I really remind people to tune into that episode about
yeah,
lived experience. I mean, a gentleman who I really really appreciate, him coming on and talking about that. A very good friend that understands what it's like to go through that on a day-to-day basis. I mean, and what you go through, Neil, the same thing, and so many other people that are part of the PWD Allies, society across our country and our allies. I mean, who have disabilities. Some of them have disabilities too, and that's why I bring them all together and talk about
yeah,
these lived experience stories because as much as the government would love to change the channel, going, no, we can't have this is our way about control, about saying, no, you want more income, you get a job. No, you're going to get a
yeah.
job. Okay, until you live that experience, you live our lives, people, live our lives. Put yourself into our shoes. I tell you, you won't be able to handle it. Why? Because I remember, I mean, Biff Naked, we had her on
Yeah.
the one year, and she talked about the welfare challenge. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, well, that was sure quickly stopped. But you know why? Because
Yeah.
politicians, they said they were getting sick.
Yeah.
Getting sick. Imagine that. The MLAs were
It's
actually getting
making us sick. We
sick.
can't do it
They said
anymore.
we can't do this. We can't live on shelter
It's
rates
far too unhealthy. Yeah.
and then the MLA complaining that, well, I can't rent anywhere for that amount.
Yeah.
275. I think,
Michelle Stillwell.
yeah,
Yeah.
$1,000. I can't get
Yeah.
anywhere for 1,000. Well, can
Yeah.
you get anywhere for 375 now? 500 at the
Yeah.
most. Like you
Well,
can't work for a whole check.
yeah, and again, this is where I'd love to throw it back at the MLAs, particularly with the BC NDP and you know David Eby and
Mhm.
people that have gone before him. Like I would just love to throw it back in their face and say, well,
Mhm.
you know what? Like why don't you try working the equivalent of 140 years? And
Mhm.
again, people are going to say I'm exaggerating. That's fair, but it really isn't an exaggeration. It's not hyperbole. I want them to feel what it's like to work 20 years in a disabled body,
Oh my gosh,
which
yeah.
is literally the equivalent of 140 years. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. I want them to work 140 years and then have their pensions clawed back, and then they can tell me if that's fair or not. They can tell me then if that's fair or not. If I tell them, please work another 20 years,
Mhm.
and maybe I'll honor your pensions, maybe.
And see how their health and their well-being.
And see how healthy and their well-being is after working 20 years in this disabled
Mhm.
body, the equivalent of 140 years, and
Mhm.
see how healthy and responsive their body is after that.
Yeah, and speaking of the clawbacks, going to look at across the country, I was just reading recently a very disturbing, I mean, very, very disturbing situation when it comes down to the CDB, right? We know that across the country, that thing, it was supposed to be historic, right? When it was supposed to be launched 5 years ago, and still, PWD, we're still waiting, folks. That's right. I mean, we're still waiting for something that was promised 5 years ago under a different administration at the time. Um, yeah, yeah. So follow the breadcrumbs on that one. So historic amount, get people out of poverty, millions. It went, and then the language started changing on it over time, and all the way down to up to $200 per household. Bunch of red tape, DTC application process. Nobody knows all this stuff. Doctors won't even sign off on it, and even if they do sign off on it, Now they have to go through the CRA. Their doctors are now looking at the strict conditions. And I was talking about that one day on the podcast here with you, Neil. My gosh, the requirements, I mean, you basically just have to be completely, I don't know, like what words I should even use on that to qualify for that DTC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've changed
And they've said that the CDB is going to be a whole
Oh,
other application process.
oh yeah, yeah. And then
So yeah,
$150 minimum, maybe I've heard up
yeah,
to $200 for it to be
yeah,
filled out, and no guarantee. And
yeah.
then you got the CDB on top of the DTC, up to $200. You have to fight up to $200 per household for something that the person's not going to get. But BC was waiting on that one, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, for something that people aren't going to get. Meanwhile, they don't increase your rate increase in the year. So people who don't get that are not going to get nothing. So it's terrible. But the news that I was reading is in Alberta. Apparently, they get $1,901 a month, but the government says that they're getting the most generous amount in the country. So they want to claw back everybody. They want to claw back the up to $200 for the
My
recipient.
favorite word.
Yeah,
My favorite word.
yeah, who
Clawback.
may qualify. They may qualify
Yeah,
if they're lucky to get that
yeah,
$200. My gosh, imagine $2,100 and you're living in luxury. Well, you're
yeah,
in luxury at $1,900 apparently. Wow, how does that look on BC and Ontario and other provinces?
yeah,
Wow. But
yeah.
hey, a privilege of we're not going to claw back in other provinces, but Alberta says we're going to claw that back because we don't want you getting more than 1,900 because we're giving you the most in every other province. Wow,
Yeah.
wow, that's not a
Yeah.
good look now, is it?
No,
No,
no.
they need to fix that. I mean, come on, government, like that's pinning disabled against disabled again. I mean, I can tell you, lived experience. It's not a good look. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like saying,
But again, they love doing it.
yeah,
They
you
love
have
saying,
a
well,
voucher, you can play
we'll
more.
roll out a program for 15% of you
Yeah,
and say
how
we're doing a good job at 15%
yeah,
of this people with disabilities are getting the program.
yeah.
Like we say with the rent subsidy or something.
Oh wow.
We'll dole it out to 15% of you and
Yeah.
who cares about the other 85%, you know?
They'll say, well, you chose to live in that sector.
It's your
So
choice.
yeah,
It's not us. It's not our legislative property. It's your choice.
especially the government offices. Live better, budget better.
Yeah.
Yeah, live within your means. Cut back,
Yeah.
cut back, cut back.
Make better choices.
Throw your change on the counter. How much change is on the counter here? How much?
Yeah.
Yeah, really? Like, is that what we come down to? Or why do you need a subsidy? Why are you applying for that? Why can't you buy?
Can I ask David Eby to make better choices because he just blew through $9 billion
It's actually
of taxpayers' money, and
yeah, it's actually I think one of the
I
media were saying it's going to be 11 billion because
it's
now
going to
there's
be $11 billion in 2 years.
yes, actually, well, as
Yeah,
soon as they get rid of that carbon
yeah,
tax, they're short $2 billion. So my guess is that how are they going to make up that $2 billion loss? They're probably going to
yeah,
claw back the disability rates by not increasing it again as an excuse of saying, well, it's a shortfall, or maybe TransLink, they're short 600 million right now. So they're probably going to claw back and say, well, we need to cut out of education,
yeah.
healthcare, people with disabilities. Yeah, we don't want to give them a rate increase because we don't want.
So can I say it, Brent? Can I say make better choices, David? Make better choices.
Well,
You
to
know?
me, it's so appalling because I know John Horgan when he was premier. I know there was people out there that weren't a John Horgan fan, and I mean that's your preference, right? I mean,
Yeah.
John, but I think John Horgan was right on the right path. John Horgan, he was the best.
He did what he could, right? Because
He
I
did what
mean,
he could, and then he
yeah,
promised right at the beginning that I mean he was the most favorite premier in all of Canada. I
hmm
think on the rankings, and I mean getting to know who he was on a one-to-one basis, going to convention meetings. Every time he went somewhere, it was because his personality it shined and it draw people to him because it
hmm
was so personable. I mean, so many of John's staffers they got so uptight with him because John would be there at a full room of people. And guess what? Everybody's gone, and guess who's still there? John is still there, and he's
yeah,
still talking.
yeah,
He was talking with Sonia. Sonia and John got into a big giant discussion regarding Star Trek, and you try to pull those two apart. I walked up and I said, John, yeah, Brent, just hang on. We're talking Star Trek, and it was some episode, and he was like
Oh
so
man.
annoyed, and his staffers were like grabbing onto his shoulder, pulling him. John, we need
Yeah.
to go. He goes, yeah, hang on, yeah, just I'm talking, please. And he would literally like wave his hand, like almost like, whoa, like this guy's getting mad.
Well,
And we go,
and again, like I got to meet him before he was premier, right? Because
yeah,
I told you like they invited me on to the basically the video shoot that was shooting all the commercials that were going to air for that election year in 2017.
yeah,
So I was there, and so this would be before he was premier, and I knew the second I met him, I go, this guy's going to be premier. I knew it
it's awesome.
without a shadow of doubt. I knew it. But the most wonderful thing that I can say about John Horgan at that time is that he didn't know it. He was so humble. He was so
Yeah,
incredibly humble that he was like, am I gonna be premier? Like you could just tell like he didn't know, he didn't expect that he was gonna win. Like
no, he didn't.
he was so humble. Like there was not like a there was not a boastful bone in his body, and that was his biggest blessing as the premier. He didn't have one boastful bone in his body, right?
Well, I noticed that when we were in Kamloops because they had a convention, and that was before he became premier, and we got to learn a lot about how campaigns go. And I mean, I look back at the funny times. I mean, I can tell you some funny moments to our listeners, and some of the insiders who like, oh my God, you're sharing that story. So we went up and up there in convention, and so we had our accommodations set, and we basically just bought some pizza, and I think we went to what was it? Oh yeah, Original Joe's. That's right. We went to Original Joe's, and we're talking to the waitresses there and the servers, and they're like, haven't seen you in here before, ma'am and sir. I go, no, it's been, yeah, I think maybe there was one other time many years ago. I said, did you know there used to be a hotel here before? No, I didn't. I go, yeah, right on this property. Wow, okay. How do you know that? I go, because I used to work at it. Oh, really? Oh yeah, it used to be a hotel right here, right here. Oh, okay. I go, now it's Original Joe's and a dollar Rama and a bunch of
Mhm.
other stuff. And I'm like, oh wow, that goes back years. I go, yeah, tell me about it. I did a career move, and it didn't work out so well.
Mhm.
Anyway, long story short, so the funny part is people didn't know who John Horgan was
Yeah, they
at the
didn't.
Original Joe's. I'm like, what? I said, and he's gonna do this and that. He has different plans, and I kind of gave a quick overview of his platform of what he wanted to do if he ever became premier. Like, that is amazing. That I go, imagine your wage increase. What would you do with a wage increase like that? I could actually put money back into other like local businesses where we live right now, and
Mhm.
because that's what we do. We can't really get us outside of the community here. And I go, well, Kamloops is pretty big. You could go North Shore, or you could go out to Brocklehurst and Aberdeen and Sahali. Like, and I can tell you all the areas because I mean I lived there for a good while, and so I
Mhm.
knew the areas quite well. So when I went up there, and I knew my way around. A lot of areas have grown since when I had been there, but anyway, so when they told me their stories, yeah, like, but I said he has to get his name well known because right now people didn't know who he was. I mean, even at the hotel, they didn't even know who. Sonia goes, John Horgan, who? Who is he? And she says, well, I mean, he's the opposition leader right now. And I mean, he's running to be, in the next election to be a premier if he becomes elected. So I told John, actually, it wasn't just me. Sonia said, John, oh, hey, you two. And she says, I've got some info for you. What? People don't know who you are. What do you mean they don't know who I am? I'm John. Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's
Yeah.
just nodding her head, but she's sitting there. But yeah, people didn't know. And I said, well, he goes, well, I guess we need to fix that now. I go, how?
Yeah.
He goes, well, you two need to tell people who I am. He says, but I guess I have to do the legwork because if I want to be premier, I got to actually get out there and actually go community to community and get
Mhm.
my name well known. I go, well, but he appreciate all of our advocacy at that time too.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got to know John really well. And he promised me, he says like different things of saying, well, I promise that I'll be the best person I can. But I can't promise you the moon, and I'm not going to be able to promise you the moon. I'll do the very best that I can, but I can't make everybody happy, and I'm not going to try to make everybody happy because I know I can't, he said, but I'll do my very level best, Brent. And I always stuck in my mind. And so when I praise, I praise him on that part because, I dearly miss him, because,
Yeah.
but I also, it's like he reminded me of my mom because he was so approachable. I could go to and talk to,
Yeah.
but I cherish all the memories though, of the takeaway from people who have had direct contact in my life, have had a very positive outcome to me. I take away the most positive things, and I cherish it, but I also echo it back out and do my very best. I learned from advocacy. I learned from others. Yeah, I've done a couple missteps in my advocacy, different little minor little things,
Yeah.
but not meaning to push people away in
Yeah.
my advocacy. It's just different ways
Shane
of.
Simpson. Shane Simpson will tell you that I did a couple of missteps on his behalf
Well,
too.
that's what I mean. We all learned though. Like we all learned from effective listening skills, of
Yeah.
effective learning curves. And but for me, I learned from everybody, and I say, okay, yeah, I can own up to it. It's and I wish politicians would do that too. They say, well, you know
Mhm.
what, I screwed up. I must do better. How can I do better? How can I learn from you or everybody in the community or across the Canada? How can we do better? The only person that actually has ever said that, and again, Dan Davies. Dan Davies,
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you, Dan. And
Yeah. I,
Shane Simpson also. Shane Simpson,
yeah,
yeah,
Shane Simpson too. Like
yeah,
I feel really bad that yeah, Dan Davies didn't get reelected. I mean,
no,
the fact that
you're
BC
a good man,
Liberals,
Dan.
yeah, he's a really great man. Like,
Very
because
great.
he always shot from the hip.
Yeah,
He told the truth, even if it hurts.
he didn't beat
Eh,
around the
He
bush.
didn't beat around the bush. It was like straight arrow guy, and
Yeah.
I actually really appreciated that about him. There
I'm
and
still
there,
in contact with them though.
yeah, and I mean, if he wants to come on the podcast again and just talk about reminisce a little bit, I mean,
Yeah,
we would love to have him on because he really is one of those stand-up guys, that didn't let you know, sometimes you can get politics that kind of corrupt the man a little bit, but
yeah.
it never really happened to him, and it's great, that somebody can be in that for that amount of time and have it really not affect them, and
He was an awesome
kind of
shuttle
be the
minister.
same guy always.
Yeah, but he was an awesome shadow minister for the
Hmm.
MPPR, Ministry of Social Poverty Reduction. I mean, I need the government to change that ministry name too, by the way,
Oh,
because
I was gonna say that too,
yeah,
way back, Brent. I mean,
yeah, so silly
please
names.
don't call it poverty reduction anymore because
Yeah,
you're not doing that. Just get
no
rid of
profit
that.
family hadn't calls it their ministry that.
Yeah, just get rid of that name. It's just
Yeah,
so ridiculous.
like poverty reduction. I mean, there shouldn't be poverty in Canada anyway. Like there shouldn't be
Well,
poverty.
they're not even trying to they're
Not
not even
increasing rates is
trying to
not
do it.
not
They're not
increasing
even
rates is not helping that. No, that's not
when
reducing.
when you don't even try, when you don't even try,
Yeah.
you don't have the right when you don't try, you don't
Mhm.
have the right to call yourself poverty reduction because I can tell you they're not trying.
No, no, they're not.
They can say there's more work to do, but if you're not trying and they are not trying, I don't care how many times Sheila Malcolm-Gibson says, well, there's more to do, more to do, more to do. I don't care how many times she says that. She's not trying. The whole ministry is not trying. If you're not going to try, don't call yourself poverty reduction.
Well, especially under
Bottom line.
BC government news on Twitter, X, under BC government news, they got bombarded about the rate increases. I mean, people that are allies, people that are disabled, but people that don't have a disability. I mean, they were mentioning comments to the government, and their response was, "Oh well, we raised the rates 5 times since 2017." And the questions about raising the rates, and they said, "No, we will not be raising the rates." Like, I mean, this is going to
Yeah.
people that are allies that are standing up for people or PWD and BC, and the government spewing that same one. And I can go into Google and type in about PWD rates. Oh, government has raised rates 5 times. Blah blah. It was that same script.
Yeah.
That same script.
We love our legislated poverty.
Give
Don't
me a
make us change it. We
do that
love it.
script. Oh,
We
give me that
love
pen. I'm
legislative
gonna
poverty.
redact out those words.
Yeah.
We will be increasing rates effective immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway, we're getting close to
yeah,
like an hour and a half almost, Brent. So we probably
yeah.
should wrap up. I almost did want to say earlier, we should have said this earlier, is that just like always, there is that little dollar bill in chat right now that if anybody wanted to send me or you a birthday coffee, like I hope they send you a birthday coffee too, even though it's not your birthday. But if anybody
It's
wants to
those
send
birthday.
if if anybody wants to send either of us a birthday coffee, they can do that by clicking the dollar bill in the chat, and
Mhm.
then once this video goes live and is not a live stream anymore, in about 24 hours time, that dollar bill will disappear from the live chat, but then it reappears at the bottom of the
Snap.
video again, so you can click it again and donate, whether
Mhm.
one off or not. And also, I have to say too, on this particular video, if you go into the description, I actually put a link for anybody that's so inclined that wants to do a month or like a monthly or maybe 2 months, 3 months of a membership, because we do have membership. I kind of had fun with them. I
Mhm.
realize there's going to be almost nobody that does it, but I still had fun with it. I still
One of
gave
those.
gave yeah, I still gave people the option because
Oh yeah.
I think it's for $3 a month. It's called the Timbit,
Hmm.
and then there's $5 a month. It's called the Apple Fritter. So I had fun with it, like I said.
Hmm.
So $3 a month of support to the channel is Timbit. $5 a month is the Apple Fritter. I think it's $12 a month.
For
Uh, is what was that again?
for a pack, is
Oh,
it?
oh, $12 a month for the support of the channel in the membership.
Yeah.
That was called the Double Double.
Oh, double, right?
the,
Okay.
the double double, and the $30 a month is the highest tier. So there's
Mhm.
four tiers. There's a $2 Timbit, the $5 Apple Fritter, the $12 double double coffee,
Mhm.
and then the last tier is called the Buble
The Buble bits.
in honor of Michael Bublé.
Yeah.
And we talked earlier about that. I hope more people actually reach out to us
Hmm.
to schedule in like episodes rather than me
Us
kind of
reaching out.
than me chasing people down. And secretly, like, that's my dream, is I hope one day like that Michael Bublé just calls me up and say, "Hey Neil, I would love to come on the podcast. It'd be great."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
No, I mean that's my high watermark dream, is to have Michael Bublé himself,
Hmm.
call and say, "Hey, schedule me on the podcast. I want to come on."
Yeah, exactly. And even the person that we reached out to, Eric, before, and
Yeah,
she's got some celebrity before, music celebrity for us. And
yeah,
if you're watching this, yeah, if you know anyone that's hearing impaired or any other disabilities, or they would love to,
mhm,
as an ally, to come on to the podcast, definitely reach out to Neil or myself.
yeah,
And I mean, when people reach out to me, I usually carbon copy you into to Neil, so that because
yeah,
Neil actually is the one who does the scheduling and programs all the stuff in. And I mean, I thank people who do reach out to me directly. That's awesome. But if you're wondering, well, how come Neil's now responding? Because Neil basically does
because
this.
I'm only one guy,
He's just one guy.
and
He's a
and
birthday
and
guy
and
today.
and Brent is only one guy,
Yeah, and
and
so
and and people that are only one
we
guy can
communicate
only
back
do
and forth.
so much. Yeah,
Yeah, and that
and
way Neil knows
yeah,
that I've read it, or vice versa, and we can
Mhm.
then communicate in that discussion. So you can either reach out to me or Neil, whichever. But just to kind of give you a heads up that you will
Yeah.
be carbon copy, and that's okay because it's all about communication. It's all about making the guest feel comfortable, and that's any guest comes on. We want to make sure that the time works good for you, the date works good for you.
Yeah.
Just let it.
We always tailor every episode.
Yeah,
We always say this. We tailor every episode to the guest.
yeah,
It's kind of whatever the guest wants. We tailor
yeah,
as much as we can to the guest so that they're happy and they want to come on.
yeah.
Like we're not about having people come on and be sideswiped or like, you
Yeah.
know, they're not prepared. They're not prepared for what comes out of our mouths kind of thing. Because we want them to have
Mhm.
this be a safe space for everybody.
Oh,
We don't
absolutely.
we don't care
We
your
try to have
political,
fun at the same time.
yeah, we don't really care about your political stripes at all. Like,
No.
you know, like I just want to have people come on and have a conversation. That's it for me. That's all it is for me is like
Yeah.
I don't care if you're, you know, I
Which,
don't care if you're David Eby or whatever party you're on. Like,
yeah.
you know, come on the you know, John Rustad, like whoever it is,
Yeah.
come on and let's have a conversation. You know, that's it for me, right?
Oh, exactly. I mean, whatever political party you're from, I mean, if you're from the Green Party in BC, you want to come on. You're from the Conservative Party in BC. You're from the NDP Party in BC. There is no Liberal Party or BC United, whatever they want it is now. There's
Mhm.
not there anyway right now. I mean, any party across Canada, if you're an MLA, you're a leader, whoever you are, you want to come on. If you're an ally to a person with disabilities or you're a person with disability, um, or disabilities, you
Mhm.
want to reach out and come on to the show, reach out. I mean, we're open. We have the doors open for you.
Yeah.
We'll make a spot for you.
Like you and I will continue to reach out to all the
Oh yeah.
profile politicians. Like that's my thing is I'm always going after the high profile politicians.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that,
But they want to reach out to us first.
I want them to start reaching out to us first. I would
Yeah.
love that. And so this is my open invitation and your open to invitation to the politicians. Like we're asking you to reach out to us. Reach out
Mm-hmm.
to us and we'll schedule you in. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like if I wanted to make an appointment with an MLA or an MP or a leader, yeah, I would have to reach out to them to
Mhm.
make an appointment, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of goes the same way. You would love to come on to onto our podcast and talk about where you're at. What are what are you going to do for the economy? And right now, as the leaders of for the country that are running to be the prime minister, all I'm hearing about is a tax cut for the middle class. Okay, what about people on lower income?
Yeah.
People on low income, seniors, people with disabilities. I mean, just the average person, not just the middle class. I mean, is it just middle class? I mean, so now it tells me that narrative, that's that rhetoric,
Well,
right?
and you just hit the nail on the head, Brent. I mean, especially the fact that we have a federal election coming up
Yeah.
now.
Right now it's the opportunity.
We should have politicians clamoring to come
Oh,
onto our
you would think
show.
so. Yeah. So
They
reach
should be
out to us.
clamoring to come onto our show. And even here in BC, even though we've had an election,
Mhm.
it still feels like here in BC that everything is in total turmoil.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It feels like nothing has been decided, honestly. It feels like nothing has been decided because because even though the election was back in like I said, it was early October,
Mhm.
everything's still in a major state of flux, and
Mhm.
it's like the you know the legislature almost just got back into session, so
March 4th.
they were absent, they were AWOL for like 4 months, so
Mhm.
it honestly feels like everything's just kind of sitting there
Mhm.
and just
That
kind
was
of, you know,
Well, that was kind of my observation
you
too,
know,
that when the legislature finally got back in, I thought,
yeah,
okay, oh great, the budget's coming out, and then there was no announcement. I'm thinking, okay, so you made us wait all the way until
yeah,
fourth, and why couldn't you have just said to PWD and BC back last year, oh by the way, yeah, we're not going to be giving you a rate increase in next year. So yeah, I mean,
yeah. So that's what I mean. Like, I would love
what a waste.
I would love for the MLAs to reach out to us,
Hmm.
even though I will be doing my legwork to reach out to them.
Hmm.
But I would really love to have somebody like, John Ronstad reach out to us, or the new BC Green candidates to reach out to us, or
I'd love to have them on.
anybody in the BC NDP caucus to reach out to us.
Yeah, for them too.
It doesn't matter. Like anybody. Like
Mhm.
I'll even talk to David Eby.
Ooh.
And I mean that would be that would be
Yeah,
an interesting show.
yeah.
But
Don't worry, David. We'd be fair
yeah,
with.
I'll be nice to him. Like
I'll keep Neil down.
I'll make sure that I put on my nice shirt for him. Even.
Yeah. No, but
But
but we would be respectful.
mhm,
And I mean, we're respectful to all of our guests that we have on, um, because I basically find that treating equality the best, working together across party lines is always the best motto, right? Because you get better results rather than throwing mudslings at each other and vote for me because I'm better. I care for your well-being, this and that, and then they get in and they don't do nothing, and people get all pissed off and they go, now, great. Now I'm stuck with them for 4 years. Great, great, great. But yeah, how about actually come to a happy medium? Like come to a happy place, a medium where, yeah, you can't make everybody happy, but there's a
mhm.
standard level of service for all citizens. And then, yeah, there's going to be missteps here and there, right? Okay, because it always happens. But you have a standard of services across, and then you build from that point on, and then you kind of work from that point on. I mean, that would be the best way. And I know MJ, if you're watching, you'd probably say right now is the best thing to do would be to have our own party.
Yeah,
I I
yeah,
I can't wait to have him on again. Yeah,
yeah. We should.
MJ, yeah, it's an
Yeah,
invitation for you, right?
yeah,
And we can discuss that. So there's two MJs actually. There's yeah.
yeah. There is.
Yeah.
But I've got birthday cake to eat, Brent.
Oh
Actually,
yes.
I don't yet, but
Oh, you will
I have to practice. So we
practice
should
on the birthday.
we should
Yeah,
we
tune out
should
here.
get out of
All
here.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. First off, hope you really enjoyed today's session. It's Neil's birthday, so just wish Neil a happy birthday. Yeah, with if you,
And like I said, if you can't buy me a coffee or you
yeah,
can't buy Brent a coffee, like watch another one of our episodes, drop
yeah,
us a like, drop us a comment. It
there's
all
so many,
helps. Like all of that helps. Like
yeah,
we have to just keep saying that over and over again. Just be a friend of the podcast, and that
yeah,
will
for sure.
help us grow. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I always say 1 year older, 1 year wiser, or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, I just kind of look at yeah.
I just dropped the mouse again, Brent.
Oh,
We'll never get off of here then.
dropped his mouse here, squeaking away
Whoops.
somewhere. But yeah, I
Let's
want
see
to
if
I
I
want
can
to
get.
thank everyone for tuning in. I hope you really, like I said, enjoyed the podcast. As usual, please like, subscribe, and share the content. Hit the like button, the dollar sign if you're in a position to help and you really enjoyed the podcast. Definitely, it helps the channel grow. Like Neil mentioned, and I mention all the time, is that on the podcast, the viewership, it really helps the channel grow too. There's so many options. Once the show is off live, it'll go into like a pre-recorded session, right? And that dollar sign will then reappear again on there. So don't be worried that if it disappears after you watch it today, it'll be there again. So if you do want to subscribe, like Neil mentioned, on the different methods, uh, it's there as an option for you. Um,
I really can't get to
Neil's
the
lost
mouse has
out
disappeared under the desk, Brent. So
weekend away.
this is kind of fun. So I'll have to go get a
Yeah.
hanger or something to get the mouse.
Oh, Neil's has escaped,
So
and
actually, we're gonna be we can't even leave the podcast until
we can't leave until Neil gets the mouse. So while
until I
Neil's
get
doing
the
that,
mouse.
I'm gonna actually gonna stay on here and kind of
Give me 1 second.
yeah, no problem. So while Neil is trying to salvage his mouse, it has escaped, squeaking away. I can hear it just squeak, squeak, squeak. I'm just trying to have some fun with you guys. Um, mouse, yeah, mouse. As long as it's not mice. Jeez. But I want to thank everyone. No, I hope you are really enjoying all of our content we put in. And again, if you do want to, reach out to us directly, feel free. Neil puts a lot of time and effort into the channel. Definitely a lot that he does before, pre-show and post show. A lot of stuff that he has to do to get things going. Sometimes the software doesn't always cooperate, and we have to kind of delay launch of the show. Sometimes it can get very frustrating. I just go with it, and Neil just goes with it, go with the flow. There's a lot of cost that gets involved in the show too, right? But hey, he's got Neil's got something to try and scoop the mouse up with. But yeah, I mean, per year, every little bit helps as you can. Please, stay tuned for Breaking with Brent segments, because I'm looking forward to doing some of those. I haven't done any coffee time in a while, but as the weather gets better in the park, I'm gonna try to voyage down to one of our local parks and go down that way. We got some beaches that are not too far from here too, so I'm gonna go down there and take the bus down and sit on the bench and have a have a little beverage right there and just enjoy and just mesmerize and put the show on the road right there. When it comes down to other adventures, when it comes to the traveling segment, we'll have to just stay tuned on that, because I mean,
I'm back.
That in the very near future. Yeah, I'll just give some like a little overview of the coffee time and the Breaking with Brent and the travel segment. I said there could be some of that in the very near future.
Okay.
We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, and let's end the podcast, and I'll ask you a question, Brett. How long does it take a disabled man to retrieve a mouse under the desk? How long does it take a disabled man to retrieve a mouse from under the desk? A long time.
And it depends on if the mouse decides to squeak away.
It was like way under it was like, you know how hard it is? Like, again, I broke my hip. Yes. I have very limited movement now, and it just the mouse just fell like as far back under the desk, and I'm like, shit. So I got my hanger. It's like I can fish it out. So there you go. Yeah. Oh wow. So now we can leave, Brent. Now we can leave.
Yeah. I was letting people know about how subscribing once the show is off air, and then it's on pre-record, and the dollar sign's going to reappear. So not to worry, like it's going to be there. And I'm just telling people they're asking them if they want to tune in and watch for other segments, just different things, and
and just like I said, like even those that can't contribute financially to the channel. Yeah. Like just to be a friend of the podcast and like like and subscribe and share it out, and and it helps us get the message out. Exactly. And I think
yeah, and if anyone that is actually scheduled to or wanting to come on at a certain day, just let us know the time. Peter, if you can let us know ASAP, it'd be greatly appreciated. I don't know if there was like maybe a problem with the technology on the email or not, but if there is, just I don't know, just send me a direct message or somehow, or just send Neil a message, and we'll send you a link as soon as we get the time set. We'll send you a link out. I'm really looking forward to you being on that day. I know you're very passionate regarding the topic on that, what the show is going to be about. So I'm not going to give it away.
We've got a great thing coming on soon with Dan too. I don't want to spoil it yet. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet, but it's gonna be great. It's again, like, we love it that we have actually people reaching out to us now, and this is a case where we had somebody reach out to us, and it's an amazing opportunity for both us and them. The people that are coming on the podcast, it's going to be great. It's going to be a great opportunity for Dan too. Like it's a great opportunity all around, and we'll talk about it when it gets closer to the day. But it's going to be a really great episode, and it's it's one of those ones that wouldn't be possible. It wouldn't be possible unless that person reached out to us, because
Yeah.
I would never have come up with the idea to do
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
unless the person reached out to us first and say, would you like to try this? And
Hmm.
it's like, yes, of course, we'd love it, right? But there again, it's because that person reached out to us first that we're like, yes, we can do
So
this, right?
it's totally,
And that's what I mean. That's what I mean. So if people reach out to us and say,
yeah, reach out to us.
can we do this? Can we do this episode? It's like, yeah, of course you can. It'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people in the disability community, and I've read on X and very compelling, a lot of lived experience stories, what they go through. And I think a lot of people are worried that their voices are not being heard. Politicians don't care, and I think a lot of them do care. I think, but I believe that it's the policies that, um, for some reason, it's holding them back. And I know there's a lot of them that truly, really do care a lot about seeing policy changes on whatever it may be. Is it healthcare, education, transportation, people with disabilities like income supports, but then there's other ones who they I don't know for some reason, and I'm not saying trying to throw them under the bus, but I think sometimes policies they say, oh yeah, so and so is not allowing me to change it, so I'm just going to run with that rhetoric and make it look like I'm doing something and I'm not doing anything
Yeah.
just because you're playing with people's lives, right?
And again, if you're not going to do anything,
Yeah,
take 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 that off the ministry. Don't have poverty reduction on the name of your ministry. If you're not going to do anything, take poverty reduction off of the ministry name.
yeah, because I mean that goes with like the federal, and then there was provincial, right? Because the federal had
Mhm.
poverty reduction, and the BC had the same thing. Now we
Yeah.
know the federal had run with it, and people, and rightfully so, right? And I'm going to stand up for the PWD, the Allies, right? Because a lot of them stood up to the minister and voiced their concerns. PWD were standing up big time and saying, "Hey, why are you not listening to us?" But then, unfortunately, it's policy decisions where it came down to the voting stuff, and we kind of went with that narrative where we actually were put into a spot. I remember that show. I still remember the day, and I had the minister on, and
Yeah.
I had pre told her what I was going to say before
Yeah.
we came on air, and I said, so I'm going to ask you this question, and I do
Yeah.
not want you to take it personally. And I said to her, I'm going to say that when we actually do get on air. I
Yeah.
said, and so she was prepared,
Yeah.
and like, why did you vote for something that you knew that wasn't going to help all PWD?
Mhm.
And of course, then that part still comes out every so often onto Twitter. I've seen it,
Yeah, but
and rightfully so, though. Yeah,
I mean, I love Benita. I
yeah,
do.
yeah.
She's great, and the reason I love her
Hmm.
is because she's honest, and
She's very
and,
passionate
like
for.
almost to a fault, because we always say that she takes a lot of bows and arrows herself,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And the reason why she takes a lot of bows and arrows is because she's kind of honest to a fault. You
Hmm.
know, that she's not afraid to like speak the truth, even if it costs her a few slings and arrows aimed her way, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happens to her sometimes, right? And that's why
There's
I
a
give
lot of
her
politicians. Yeah,
that's why I give her like a lot of grace that
yeah.
she's able to stand in there and take it.
Well, even like Shane Simpson, the same thing. Like he said too. He says, I remember there was one gentleman. We were at a town hall meeting, and I said to Shane, I said, so and so, and he goes, Brent, you know what? I got thick skin. I can handle it. I said, Shane, that may be fine, but you're still who you are. You're like me. You're passionate. I get it, but it's
Mhm.
still disrespect. Like you shouldn't have to deal with that. And he
No,
goes,
you
well,
shouldn't. No, you
I said, you
shouldn't.
should not have to deal with it. Like,
Yeah.
and he goes, well, no, I shouldn't. And then I said, it's about trying to make your government understand that the right thing to do is to change things up.
Hmm.
And as we learned going forward, a lot of policy decisions do need to be changed, right?
But again, like
They
like
learn.
what again, going back to Benita Zarrillo, like
Yeah,
when we had her on the podcast last time,
yeah,
I thought she explained herself extremely well.
she did. She
She
did
really
really
explained herself extremely well. So I
well.
don't know how anybody could take that out of context and say, see, look at what Benita said. And I
Yeah.
mean, I don't really understand that because she did explain herself really well. She defended herself really well,
Hmm.
and it bugs me when somebody like her defended herself as well as she did and explained herself as well as she did, and people still take it out of context and say, "See, look at her, look what she's doing," you know. And it's I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair when she did come on the podcast. She explained herself extremely well. She defended herself very
Hmm.
well,
Hmm.
and there wasn't anything vague or that could be misconstrued or misunderstood about anything she said,
Hmm.
and yet people still kind of take it out of context, and it's like, why?
Yeah, because there, there was exactly because I mean there was a part in the bill like there was it always all interconnected within the bill of different components
Yeah,
stuff. And if they had said no, all the whole bill, the dental plan,
it would
everything
have it
completely
would
gone down,
would
right?
have flushed everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so they had to at least take something out of it, and the problem is that it was the liberals at the time had put them into a bad situation where, nothing against the Liberal Party of Canada, right? But at the time, under the different administration, it was a narrative that put them into a spot where you take this or not. Again, I guess learning lessons of maybe something should have maybe been safeguards been put in place differently,
Mhm,
possibly.
mhm,
Should Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the NDP federal, should he have maybe stood up and spoke up and said people with disabilities more often? Possibly. And yes, he
mhm.
probably should have. And yes, you should have Jagmeet, because people in this community, we all called on that. Like, where's Jagmeet? Why are you not speaking up? And I can tell you, as a PWD advocate and as a person with a disability, um, like I echo, and I'm not speaking for other PWD, across Canada, but the ones who can't speak up, who do want their voices to be heard, and other ones who do want their voices to be heard. We all felt that you abandoned us, like, and your members fought. They kept fighting for the CDB, but their hands were tied. And I guess it was frustration saying, well, why didn't you make it part of your supply and agreement with the liberals? Like
Yeah.
you get this benefit out now the way that it was supposed to
And
be.
I mean, maybe
Never did.
I mean, to be fair, I mean,
Yeah,
I've actually had the same conversation with Kent
yeah.
about Jagmeet Singh as well,
Hmm.
and it's possible that we're misreading it.
Maybe
Like it's possible that
possible. Yeah,
there could have been more going on behind the scenes,
yeah, I
but
think so. Yeah.
it still looks bad. It
Yeah, it
still
was a
looks
bad look.
bad
I
that
think there was a lot that was going
yeah.
on behind the scenes. I really do.
Hmm.
Like hearing how a lot of the parties will interact with each other. I mean, and I learned a lot from John Horrigan, though. He taught me a lot. Like he said, what you see at ground level, I can tell
Hmm.
you. He said there's a whole shitload that goes on that I got to deal with personally.
Yeah.
In the end, I said, really? He goes, as a premier now, and he thanked me. He says, like, thank you for allowing me to be the premier. Well, I didn't do anything. He goes, yeah, you did. You actually helped
Mm.
get people to know who I am, and so you guys did your part.
Well,
But
there again, that's him being humble again, right?
yeah,
That was his best trait by far. He was such a humble man, right?
yeah. But before
Yeah.
we end the show quickly, I'm gonna say one funny part. So we were in a town, we were in a convention area, and it was intermission. Sonia was out talking with some other members of the party. I was grabbing a little bit of water. They had a water machine there, and I was helping myself water, and it was coffee and other beverages. And I was thirsty. I just wanted a little bit of water and coffee after. Anyway, I just gulped it back, and I had to go and use the men's room. And I came in there, and then John came walking in behind. I was going to the washroom, whatever. And then I was washing my hands at the sink there, and I heard a whistling. Turn around, but John came walking in, and he didn't even notice who it was at first. So I was leaning over the sink, washing my hands, and guy's whistling along, and he's like, and he's going, well, he's going to the washroom, whatever, and he's like, and I'm at the sink, and I hear, "How are you?" And I'm looking around. I'm like, what the hell? And I see someone look like John, but he was going to the washroom. And he's talking to me while he's going. He's like, so how's it going, man? I'm like, fine, sir. Fine, sir. You don't even know who you're talking to. I go, well, whoever you are, you got your back to me. He goes, yeah, you know who I am. And I said, so anyway, he walks to the sink. I go, my gosh, John. He goes, yeah, you just pretend that you didn't know who it was. I go, oh my gosh. He says, I run into Brent in the washroom. I better not stay in here long because he says my security going to think you're holding me hostage. I'm like, wow, the premier holding the premier hostage. Front page of the news. Disabled advocate holds premier hostage. How would that look? I go, that wouldn't be a good look now, would it? He goes, no. But anyway, he told me that just to keep up the advocacy, that was back then way before we got the podcast going. But he says, stand up for what you believe in. Stand up and don't stand down. Yeah, you're going to get people along the way, try to derail you, tell you to be quiet, silence out. I mean, you advocate too much, whatever it may be. Don't. Advocating doesn't stop. Advocating doesn't take a break, Brent. It doesn't take a holiday, right? And it's a lot of work, but you know what? It actually benefits not just yourself, but it benefits all the society. And he says, when I told him, I said, people will come disabled in their life. He goes, absolutely. They don't know it yet, or maybe they do know it, but they're going to find out. So yeah, I mean, and that's why when I remembered all those things that John said, and I came to you, Neil, with all these ideas, and
and the thing is like we said this.
And thanks, John. God rest your soul.
Yeah, we said this a lot. We say this a lot already, but it has to be said again. It's like I would not do this, and you would not do this if it was not fun for us. Like that was the number one kind of ask for me is like, yeah, I'll do this for you, Brent, but only if you promise that we'll have fun with it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, so that's kind of been my whole like primary ask from the beginning is like, let's do this, but let's have fun with it. And we have. So we just encourage people to help us like have fun and continue having fun with us. And share the message out and
be part of the journey with us.
Be part of the solution with us too.
Yeah, and there's so many different ideas of how to end legislative poverty. There's so many ideas about lived experience stories. I mean, I'm going to be doing a segment. Everybody tune in on Friday. I'll be doing a segment about transit. So just kind of a little sneak peek about that. It's something that I'm very passionate about. It won't be a long episode.
Not like this one.
Not as long as this one. It'll probably be about 45 minutes to an hour maximum. It's more of an update of what's going on. It really bothers me about a transit dispute that's been going on for way too long. And it's contracted out. I found this out by doing some homework on it. To a company in France, France that actually is the company that runs it, and it's BC Transit. How does that work?
Gotta love outsourcing.
How does that work? Meanwhile, the community's stranded. I feel very sorry for the bus drivers. There's a lot of outstanding issues that need to be resolved, and I'm not going to, get into all that right now, but talking on the podcast about that on Friday. But one of the outstanding issues is bathroom breaks. I mean, come on, bathroom breaks. I mean, give the bus drivers time to turnaround time to go to the washroom. They're not allowing that.
I wonder if one of the free perks of signing up with somebody in France was free croissants.
Maybe.
Do you think free croissants was part of the deal?
Maybe they love our French. Maybe they love our French fries. The French fries.
And we do have that. Before I drop the mimosas again, Brent, we got to get out of here.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. And happy birthday again, Neil. And it's been a blast of a show today. Thanks for tuning in. Definitely stay tuned till Friday. Later this week, and we'll be talking transit How does it affect your life? You'll find out.
One of your favorite topics, Brent.
Oh yes, I'll be very,
Yeah.
very good on that.
Okay.
Anyway, thanks.
Cheers,
Hey,
everyone.
don't worry, there won't be no pink unicorns popping out on that.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, it might be sticking around because they never go anywhere there. Then take care, everybody. Have a good
See
day.
ya.
Thanks.
Bye.